Alright, so hey guys, this is my first tank review I'm ever gonna do. I will be uploading these maybe weekly or bi-weekly. It's just tank reviews on tanks that I have, and I have 3 marked, so I can hopefully give an educated opinion. The first tank I'm choosing to do is going to be the STA-2, or I like to call it the STA-2. It's Tier 8 Premium Japanese medium tank. In my opinion, this is likely one of the best Tier 8 Prems in the game. For DPM, for agility, for just pretty much completing anything that a passive medium can do very, very well. It can pen Tier 9s somewhat reliably, as the pen is 212, and then you get 275 heat rounds for premium rounds. The gun handling is very consistent. The accuracy is not bad. The aim time is not bad. Nothing is really bad about this tank except for the armor. But if you're going to buy this tank, I would assume that you're already aware of the fact that you need to play somewhat safe and not allow yourself to get shot, since your armor is pretty much paper. You will pretty much not bounce a shot anywhere. This tank's strong gun depression, as it has 10 degrees, allows you to peek corners and ridgelines very well. So you can peek your turret over and you won't get your turret hit, or if you're quick enough, it'll pretty much just be free damage. That's why 10 degrees is very useful. Recommended loadout is rammer, vert stabs, coated optics. Rammer for just the reload time, vert stabs for a massive dispersion and accuracy buff, and coated optics for view range. This tank has 380 base view range. The optics will help you improve your view range and get it to view range cap, which is very important in console world of tanks. So use those equipment pieces. You can use vents. I highly recommend optics, but if you want to go for a cheaper option and you don't have enough silver at the time, then you could use vents, but be aware that you will not be at V-range cap. So sometimes positions that you want to use that you need to utilize a lot of V-range may not be possible, because vents does not give you that 10% bonus. It gives you a small bonus, but not the flat 10% that optics gives you. So with this combination, you want to use some sort of repair kit, your basic consumables, small repairs, small first aid. And if you want to make money and you don't really care about getting the extra bonus, you can use automatic fire extinguisher or manual fire extinguisher, whatever you choose. I choose to use food just because it gives me a flat 10% bonus, and it's just overall very useful. It's like pretty much vents on steroids, so it can actually give you a really nice boost to everything, and I definitely recommend using it, but it is 20,000 per game, so it's up to you. As far as ammo loadout, I'd recommend a healthy amount of AP, such as 30 to 36 in that range. Then carry 2 HE and fill the rest in with heat. So you don't really need a lot of heat rounds. If you're accurate, 212 pen is very good and can be used on most tanks, and the heat rounds are 275, so they're very strong. So I would carry 14. That's why you carry about 10 to 16 of them, because you don't need them all the time. You're in a premium tank, you're trying to make money. But of course you can obviously run what ammo type you want. This is just what I'm recommending. If you run the 10 to 16 heat rounds, they could be useful against, for example, if you have to carry against, like, say, a T10 and an E75 and a Yag Tiger, the heat rounds 275 pen is going to be very strong against all of those tanks. So it's what I recommend. You can change your ammo setup if you choose. As far as crew, I set my crew up mostly the same for most tanks. So you want to prioritize 6th Sense Brothers in Arms and Repairs. That's pretty much on any tank. But secondly, you want to get Camouflage, Silent Driving as soon as possible. Since you're very weakly armored, you want to stay undetected. And then you want to use Situational Awareness and Recon. So your view range is extended, and you can get a large amount of view range out, and spot people before they spot you, especially against tanks, especially against other STA-2s. You will outplay and beat them just because you're literally spotting them before they spot you and they don't have a chance to shoot you. As far as next few perks, I recommend Track Mechanic. If you're going to run food, run firefighting, and preventative maintenance if you have the slots. This tank will get burned if you shoot it in the rear or the side pretty often, so firefighting, preventative maintenance definitely helps to mitigate that. Off-road driving just makes your tank faster on medium and soft terrain. Muffled shot's another camo thing. It's a pretty large multiplier, but it's only when you shoot, so it's up to you when you get it. I recommend maybe 9th or 10th perk. And then designated target's just important for farming damage. You can aim at people, and regardless if they're spotted or not, or if they would stay spotted or not, you will spot them for an additional 2 seconds. And people sleep on it, but it's very important. Yeah, that's all you really need to know about the tank, is that it's weakly armored, but it's pretty much the only downside. Other than that, it's pretty fast. It has high DPM. Its gun handling is pretty consistent. It makes a lot of silver as well. If you're just consistently playing, dropping even 2k damage a game, you'll be making 70,000 silver with a premium count every game. And so basically what you want to do is just use ridgelines. You can brawl corners if you want. It's just a flexible tank. It's kind of hard to call one specific thing to do because the tank is a decent bit flexible, and you honestly just have to play out your situation and see what it's best for. But farming damage over a ridgeline is one of its strengths because of how high the DPM is. The gun handling's consistent. You can get it to high V range, and just overall it's a really consistent tank. And it's actually, I believe, a cheap amount of gold relative as well. Relatively speaking, it's like 7,400 gold, I think, based to other tier 8 prems, which are about 12,000. So if you want a cheap option to make money and you're not really concerned about having armor, you're just concerned about having an extremely strong tank, then the STA-2 is most definitely a very viable option for your choice of premium tank. Alright, so in this game, unfortunately, we have Theopil Ridge with a bad spawn. It's team destruction, so the spawns are somewhat sporadic. I'm spawned, and I'm pretty much forced to go top A B line here, but I'm going to go down here. And unfortunately, this is probably going to be a more passive game, but the STA-2's DPM should allow you in matchups like this, even though it's, there's 4 tier 9s and there's a ton of tier 8s. You should still get a decent amount of damage here. As with other preferential tanks, like an IS-6, if you got this matchup in an IS-6, it would just be horrid. Like you would not want to play your IS-6 in something like this, because the gun handling is terrible, the pen is bad, and you're slow, and so the STA-2 also has preferential matchmaking like the IS-6, but in matchups like this, overall it's just a really strong tank. So in matchups like this, it's not really a problem to deal with tier 9s, because you're getting damage on them, and as long as you're playing right and using your camo and not peeking ridgelines unsafely, they're pretty much the same as any other tanks. They're just pretty much damage to farm. So I can use, as you guys can see here, I'm using artificial gun depression off of this rock to my right. I tried to snap a shot in. It's really unfortunate that I got spotted there. I wasn't actually using the rock correctly, but this tank has a lot of gun depression, so you can afford to go like this and get very nice shots into these guys over here, because you have 10 degrees. People don't really realize how powerful 10 degrees is, and I think this light tank's going to YOLO me. Unfortunately, this light tank is going to YOLO me. My whole team is behind me. I don't really understand what his decision-making behind that is, but... So, as it stands, he just traded 700 hit points on a tier 8 light for 1 pen on me and a STA-2. Try not to make those trades. If you make trades like that guy, you're likely not going to last long. So, this is actually not that great of a position because I keep getting spotted by that light tank, but usually I use this position, something like that hammer will go back there and I'm unable to be spotted here. So since I keep getting spotted and they're likely expecting me to keep peeking that location, I'm going to peek from a different location, perhaps over here. Because this is what I'm saying, the STA-2 is so incredibly flexible. You can just flex around this whole ridgeline and pretty much use wherever you want because you have 10 degrees of gun depression. That's so important. You have fast DPM, you have okay camo, and your gun handling is consistent. You just keep putting these shots in. So I keep getting spotted, but that's because there's a medium right in front of me peeking this ridgeline. It's unfortunate, but because of my DPM, I've put in a large amount of shots already. And it's powerful. That was a bad shot by me, but for example, I can just sit on this ridgeline and I'm probably going to get up to like, come on, perhaps maybe 10, 12 pens of damage from this ridgeline. And I keep talking about farming damage because, not because I'm just trying to play selfishly or like, oh, well, you have a lot of DPM, so just sit in the back of the map and farm all game. I'm trying to stress the point that you're playing a premium tank, so the most important thing, in my opinion, is damage and trying to win, but try to get a lot of damage, because if you're playing the premium tank, you're playing the premium tank to make credits. You're not really just... You could be playing the STA-2 just to play it, since it is very enjoyable. But most of the time, if you're playing a premium tank, you're playing it to make credits, you're playing it to train your crew, and so you're trying to get the most XP possible. So your goal out of these games when you're playing premiums, or in this case the STA-2, is you want to farm some damage, you want to do pretty much everything possible to get a lot of XP, because XP... things you do to make XP will be the same things to do to net you silver. So, as you can see here, I pushed the advantage because I saw that my team was doing very well. I can push up to this ridge item and use my 10 degrees. There's farm damage on this hammer. Unfortunately, my team is swiping here, so I need to be very aggressive if I want more damage. See, the DPM on this tank is so strong that when you push in and clean up shots like this, that even though, let's say I didn't have a good game and I had barely any pens, I can still get a decent amount of damage, even though I'm going to die to this Skoda. He, of course, high rolls me. So it's unfortunate. The Skoda T50 had about like a 30% chance to kill us there, and unfortunately got his luck and killed us, but game was really quick, 5 minutes 30 seconds. It was a bad matchup. There's tier 9s and it was a trash map with trash spawns, and you're still able to farm the damage you need. So in this case I had 3600 damage, so once you start getting used to your STA-2 and start doing really well, 2.5 to 3000 will probably be about average in the STA, maybe even more. Just because of how strong it is. But for example, like in this one, I obviously had ops on, but I'm not the only one who can put ops on. So if you have your ops on, you get silver boosts, and quick 5 minute 30-second game, 3600 damage, 5 kills for 140,000 silver. It's a very effective tank at farming damage quickly, and especially when if your team finishes the enemy team really quickly, it's quick to get up and farm more damage. So in this match here, we are tier 8, top tier, but there is a lot of tier 8s on their team. But these are the matchups, in my opinion, that you want in the STA-2, but you have to play carefully, because if you keep exposing yourself or keep playing aggressively, if you play too aggressive, people are going to come after you simply because your armor is weak. And unfortunately in this game, a lot of people that struggle to do well in the game will likely push tanks like the STA-2 because it's weak armor. It doesn't really require you to, like if I have to aim at the turret of this guy, when you come around on the STA-2, you can just aim lock, and pretty much anywhere is going to be a pen for the STA-2. So the only problem with the armor is it is very, very bad, but you have to play the tank to its strengths and just assume you have no armor and don't peek safe. Don't over peek, don't hit that extra pen. Your DPM is amazing. You can peek another time for damage. You don't need to sit here and hit an additional shot. You can't, like if I'm getting shot and everybody's looking at me right here, I don't need to, sit here and over peek for the UDES. And here we are again with the light tanks. Like I said, you are a pen for pretty much everything that you're ever going to meet. So tanks like that light tank, he saw the STA-2 and he knew he could pen us pretty easily, so he just came right over the ridgeline and put a pen into us. But as you can see in this position, the STA-2 is just such a power tank. I should stop peeking this because they're starting to be aware that I keep peeking the same location, and they keep going for damage shots. And then as you guys can see here firsthand, that these light tanks keep coming up over the ridgeline and they keep trying to pen me, and they keep succeeding. And as long as you pay attention to the light tanks that are doing this, keep an eye on your compass or your mini-map, whichever one you prefer. Watch for them to peek. You'll likely hit your shot. You have good gun handling. Hit your shot and you're up on the trade. You're going to hit 240 and they're going to hit for about 180 at most, so it's really important that you get your out trades on the light tanks, because then if they keep doing it, they're just not gonna keep doing it. So I'm gonna go to the left on this side of this ridge here. On the right side, I keep getting I can't keep peeking that ridge. They keep paying attention to it. So over here, I can just 10 degrees, put a shot into the IS. The IS is likely going to turn. He might pay attention to me. I shouldn't have gone for that light tank. The shell velocity is bad, and if your aim isn't great, like mine is, sometimes struggles in those situations. So I shot the UDES. I probably should have held my shot for the bat chat there, but that shot should have penned. So right now we are in a power position. Regardless of what happens right now to any of these guys, we are in a position to farm damage and take advantage of anything. So as you can see here, the DPM of the STA, if I'm just allowed to sit here and I just keep putting shots in, is relentless. So as long as you keep hitting your shots, it's remarkable. It can be such a strong premium tank in situations like this, and it can be a great moneymaker. And Japanese, there's not many Japanese tanks, but if you want to train your Japanese crew, it's perfectly good for training your Japanese crew, because if you're doing well in every game, then you're getting a lot of XP, and if you're getting a lot of XP, you're training your crew. It's just as simple as that. As you can see here, I'm just using my power position. My team is pushing, and this whole time the team is pushing, I'm continuously farming shot after shot. I want to make sure that when my team pushes and there's all the enemy tanks, I want to farm them as much as possible, especially in this tank. So, as you can see here, that was a quick game, right? That was about, what, 5 minutes? It was 15-3, 15-4. And I have silver ops on, but 241,000 credits. For example, if I didn't have these silver ops on, that probably would have been about 140, 150,000 credits. So this tank just has the ability to farm so much damage so quickly and get so much silver, and it's it's actually surreal. I mean, it farms so much damage that you can get so much silver in such a quick amount of time. It's if you want to just grind silver for say an hour and play the STA-2 and try to do well, and you'll get quick games and you'll get quick silver. And it's relatively not a frustrating tank to play, but I did say the armor is paper and artillery. Sometimes artillery can one-shot you, or a lower tier will pen you and burn you or take out all your modules, and it is frustrating, but overall you shouldn't focus on it. So the armor isn't great, but everything else of the tank is pretty good. The shell velocity can be annoying, but overall I think it's definitely a worth tank to buy for 7,400 gold. So if you were considering buying it for Japanese crew training or whatever it may be, you just want another tier 8 prem, I recommend the STA-2 as your next choice. It's cheaper than the other prems, so you don't have to spend, 12, 13, 15,000 gold on your next tier 8 prem. You just buy this thing. It's simple, kit it up. It's a medium tank, so the rammer and everything else will be cheaper. And once you get this tank, you play to farm, you play to get damage, and you'll rake in the credits. As you can see up above the tank, it says plays up to tier 9. I did forget to mention earlier, this tank does have preferential matchmaking, so as strong as it is, it's pretty much a tier 8 tank. It's just as strong as most tier 8 mediums, and it can't see tier 10s, and it makes a lot of money. So it's pretty much everything you could want in a tier 8 medium that doesn't have armor. For not having armor, it definitely makes up for it on every other aspect of the tank. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review.